Hey everybody, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com. Today, change of approach and format. As I mentioned in the past shows, that my next plan for this live stream was to start having guests and bring some interesting people in. And my first guest, which I thought would be a make sense, because considering our connection between his company and my product and all that, is Mark Glazier. So Mark is the CEO and owner of NutraBio. NutraBio is one of the handful of companies that I recommend, I use and recommend, I have for a long time, due to the way he approaches business and sourcing and OCD level of testing, which I can attest to firsthand. But I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I'm not even sure how we connected, but we started talking, and he said, "Look, you have a reputation for being a stickler for quality control and sourcing and all that. Why don't you come up and actually see our facility?" So I took him up on that, and actually I wrote up that trip on Brinkzone, and I'll post that link below this video. But I went up to Jersey to see the operation, and as expected, I was really impressed again with the quality of the manufacturing, how what a stickler Mark is for quality control and sourcing. And like I said, I saw all that with my own 2 eyes and walked around. And kind of in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, if I ever get around to doing my own product, because I had that one formula in my head all these years, I'm gonna twist Mark's arm to make it for me. Well, was kind of my thought. And I just kind of put that in the back of my head. Because Mark is not a contract manufacturer. He doesn't make other people's products. He just makes NutraBio products. But I just really wanted a company that, again, that I had been to, that I could trust to have my best interests in mind, and always be sourcing quality raw ingredients and such that I wanted to use. So again, we had a very similar approach and mindset to the industry in general, which is again why we get along, because Mark is a very open source, no BS kind of person, and that's rare in this industry, which is why he has an excellent reputation, why the company has such an excellent reputation. And I can say with my own 2 eyes, a lot of companies, well, every company claims on their website, about the great ingredients they use, that they're all sourced from the highest quality vendors and all that stuff. And, 90, and Mark will even know more about this, but I'm going to throw 90% out there at his complete hogwash, horseshit. And, they just get the cheapest raws they can get their hands on and do the minimal testing that they absolutely have to do, and so forth. Whereas Mark and a few other companies, that I know, literally a handful, really are real sticklers, actually care about where they source things. Like, as I say, hold on a second. I just had a little, sorry about that, guys. I just had this little thing tell me that Facebook claims I was not live. Hopefully I am live on Facebook now, and nobody missed this intro to talking about Mark and NutraBio. If so, I guess say something in the comments. I'll keep an eye on the comments here. And hold on, let me take a look here. All right, yeah, somebody just put a comment. Good. All right, so people see it. Good deal. So where was I? So NutraBio, I say the reason Mark and I just really get along well is we really see eye to eye on the way the industry is, the way it should go, how people should really give a damn about where their supplements come from and all that. So that's NutraBio and Mark in a nutshell. A little more background on Mark. Besides owning NutraBio and putting out excellent products, he's also was inducted to the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. So he's obviously not just your run-of-the-mill martial artist or your wannabe type. He's top of the line guy. I don't know what he's doing in martial arts these days, but if you were in the magazines, he was Inside Karate and all those back in the day. I saw some pictures. He like me, he had a lot more hair, but we won't talk about that. He also has, I can talk about well-roundedness. He also has, I believe, one of, if not the largest private collection of tequila in the world, which is an interesting thing to say. And so obviously the man likes his drink. The other thing Mark does a lot is almost as much as work is ride motorcycles. I mean, there's videos almost every week, whenever he can. He's out in all parts of the U.S., constantly riding motorcycles. He's obviously an adrenaline junkie type. In one form or another. And I will tell you that Mark is very similar to a lot of other people in the industry, or people that I know, is that they tend to work hard and they tend to play hard. They do, there's just no in between. And that's something that I have noticed is almost a personality trait of people in the industry. I mean, my buddy, Bill Falloon, who owns Life Extension, is the same way. He's not riding motorcycles or in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, but I will say that he works like a dog. He's up all night long. And then when it comes, and then comes to blow off steam, there's no holding back on that either. So with that, let me bring Mark in on this, and hopefully my little gizmo here will work. All right. Let's add the stream. There we go. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Will, how are you?
All right. I have everything working. Okay, I see you. Hopefully everybody can, all right, so people are saying you're live. I can see you. I'm just looking at the comments a little bit. So there was I got this little weird thing that came up and said that you're not live, hit this button. So anyway, all good. So hopefully that introduction covered your wide range of interests. Do you have or still have the world's largest private collection of tequila?
Well, I don't know if it's the world's largest anymore. I think at one time it was. It's about 5,000 bottles of tequila. I think there's a couple people out there that might have surpassed me in the last few years.
Did they surpass you because you drank a good part of the collection, or they just outpurchased you, do you think?
Probably a combination of both.
Okay. All right. So how does, before we get into some industry talk and have a little, get into some good stuff, how does one get inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame? I mean, that's obviously doesn't happen every day. Is that a poll or a committee, or how does that work?
Oh, I don't even remember. That was a long time ago, a previous life. That was back in 87, 88.
Right.
That I was put in there.
I mean, do you get a letter in the mail that says you've been nominated? Show up on time for this thing, or
it was part of the industry, and
okay,
invited in.
Right. Okay.
I was on most of the magazines back in those days, inside karate, inside kung fu, inside taekwondo.
Right.
So I played a big part back those days. Before I did NutriBio, I had schools across the East Coast.
All right. Okay. So I didn't know you actually owned schools too. That I didn't know. Okay. So you basically get out of that industry, that biz.
Yeah, I started NutriBio from karate. Everything my whole life has been fitness training, nutrition, health, and I started, making supplements out of the karate schools for my teams and my fight teams and stuff like that. So I got so into it. That's kind of where it came from and where the change.
All right. So all right. So would you have sort of a supplement line for the schools?
No, I would just buy 50-pound bags of protein and box of creatine and dole it out. And it wasn't a business. It was just trying to get people in better shape and to perform better and to train better. So it wasn't a business originally, but I just got so far into it that at one point I decided that I wanted to make a changeover. And that's when we started NutriBiotics.
Right.
Same company. It was just a different name back then. We shortened it eventually.
Right. So did you run both the schools and the small supplement company for a time, and then just segued into all supplements?
At a certain point, I sold the karate studios to most of the instructors who were under me, and to a large organization. A friend of mine has been around forever, Tiger Schulman.
Right.
A bunch of the schools out in New York and Pennsylvania and some in Jersey. And that's when I just focused 100% on NutriBio. I'm one of those guys who just hyper focuses on one thing. I don't like my hands into a lot of things. I think I do much better when I'm focused 100%. Right.
Well, I think that's at least the successful types. I think that is a personality type, it gets into the industry, or any industry, successful entrepreneur, that they're just, they can just focus their mind on this thing until, again, you don't get that level of martial arts and anything else without being hyper focused on doing it right. I would say, doing it to the best of your ability. So it was from the I mean, from the start, was your sort of whole goal to say, okay, I'm going to do something different in industry. That is, I'm going to change the the approach and be very open. Like I remember on your webpage back in the day, you even listed exactly what your sources were of each, amino acids, creatine. I remember you had this whole list down, which again, very few companies will do that.
Yeah, we even had expiration dates and assay test results right on the labels.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was my goal from day one. I just got I was in nutrition from my whole life since I was young. I mean, I've done every single diet out there, from the original Bruce Lee diet of drinking raw eggs.
Right.
And I just, one day decided that I love martial arts so much, but my organization grew so big and I was more of a businessman than a martial artist anymore. I was sitting in an office 6 days a week and I'd get out to my schools a few times a month. And I just hated that.
Right.
My passion is not sitting in an office and deciding how to grow a martial arts organization and what the sales should be. It's out on the floor teaching and training. And it just wasn't me anymore. And there was no way to downsize it back to where it was.
Right.
But I still knew that, my life was in fitness. It was in training, it was in nutrition. And I loved the concept of nutrition so much because back then I used to train fighters and I tried to get them to train at the same weight that they were going to fight at, as opposed to all this weight loss and stuff like that. Going
into the steam room in a rubber suit and dropping 20 pounds of water and
So I started NutriBio. It was called Nutribiotics back then. And it was kind of like anybody else. I started it by going out to a contract manufacturer. I didn't know how to manufacture stuff myself. And we put together, about a dozen or so products. And the company took off fairly quickly because not only did I have my own schools, but I had a management company back then that ran other schools at the same time. So I had a large following and everybody jumped on board and the company took off. And a couple of years in is when I wanted to reformulate products. And the contract manufacturers I was using back then, I believe there were 3 of them, wouldn't give me the formulas because they were all proprietary blends. So we kind of all got together. We sat behind a desk in their conference rooms and we designed these products. And, you're talking 1996. There was no internet really back then. It was just porn. We're going on the internet and finding research on products and stuff like that. So you kind of relied on these people to help design the product.
Well, so that obviously segues really well into the dreaded blend, where that was probably obviously your first exposure to that, where it actually came back to be an issue for you personally in your own business, where they literally wouldn't give you the formula to your own product.
Yeah, exactly. So initially I just wanted to be in supplementation because I thought I could help people, and not just in sports nutrition, but in general wellness. But, when I found out that these products that I had, these proprietary blends, and I had to sue the companies to get the dosages, were all underdosed. It was supposed to be 500 milligrams. It might have been 10 milligrams. The products were pure garbage.
Right.
And then I started testing other products in the industry and found out that the idea of proprietary blends was not really to protect your product from competitors, like figuring out what was in it, like everybody, I even claimed. It was just hiding the dosages from your consumers. Remember, this is a long time ago. We're talking 20 years ago. It's different today. Yeah. And there's a lot of companies that do exactly what I do today.
But obviously, so that makes perfect sense why from that day forward that you were very clear about not doing proprietary blends and not selling proprietary blends and being very open source with amounts and dosing and testing. So, I mean, you kind of learned the hard way through fire, I guess, how that works, not as a customer, but as an actual trying to develop a company, a supplement company from the hard end, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I mean, when you're selling something to people who believe in you, and these are all my students, and all of a sudden you realize you're a snake oil salesman, you're selling them garbage, It kind of is a slap in the face. And when that happened, that's when I made that decision that you asked about earlier to really delve into quality and understanding the industry and making some changes. So that wasn't my goal up front. I thought everything was great when I started.
Right.
When I learned that it wasn't, then I made this commitment to really see what I could do, not only for my customer, but to change what I thought was bad in the industry back then. And it's now 20 years later from that, because we think we made that changeover. And we actually coined the phrase back then, no proprietary blend and therapeutic dosages and full label disclosure. Those are used every day by a lot of companies right now. And that's great because the industry has made a big changeover.
Yeah, but I mean, I would still say though it's it's still a small percentage that are being that open source. I mean, it went from being like one, or maybe two. Life Extension's pretty good about that. Maybe let's call it 3 companies, but I mean, it's still, I don't know. I mean, 10%. I mean, it's still not like I think you're giving them more credit than they deserve, honestly, because I don't think there's that many companies still that aren't throwing out plenty of either proprietary blends or, big claims on doses. When they get tested, it doesn't always live up to it.
Right.
And
it's the same in any industry. You have really good people doing a great job that really love what they're doing and are passionate. You have the same type of person that's passionate, but just doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
They just follow what's being done to them. You have the crooks out there, that make us all look bad, and they're always going to be there. They've been there forever, and they will be, like any industry. And
well, the internet's made that really easy, easy for anybody to do that. So maybe there's more people that are calling them out on some of that stuff than there used to be, but they're sort of almost seems like they're just filled back in by somebody, again, willing to sell, protein powder with Viagra in it that they got from China. And so on and so forth. That's really not protein powder, but as a lot of those, dick pills, as we call them, that actually work. They've got Viagra in them. I mean, every time they test them, they literally have Viagra in them. Which
absolutely,
might as well just go and get some Viagra.
Yeah, I mean, there's steroids, there's sex drugs that are really dirt cheap as raw material, and companies will put those in their product, and those products will work the first 3 or 4 months, and they're hoping you have to get a big buzz out there, or they pull those out.
Yeah.
Or the FDA or somebody catches them, so they get their saturation in the marketplace, and then they get caught.
Yeah, I mean, and there were a few companies we could name that at least were strongly suspected of doing that with anabolics and stuff back in the day. I don't know if they ever caught doing it, but everybody was, raving about how great Hot Stuff was and some other stuff for about 6 months, and then everybody said it didn't work anymore. But I don't know if there was ever any, tested that went on, but it seemed there were a few products back in the day, but now it's more in the sex pills that they're doing that.
It's both. I mean, you can look at the FDA and the Department of Justice; they're still catching companies and going after companies. Every year you see them, and you wonder why or how they can still get away with that. And I figure if the FDA is catching 2 or 3 a year, there's a lot more that are doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think they're probably only catching a fraction, and then there's to this day there really isn't a big penalty. I mean, the penalty is usually a nasty letter from the FDA, and you stop, and that's pretty much it, unless you really push it hard. But I mean, for the most part,
if they catch you with SARMs or something that's like in the gray area still, maybe there's not going to be any major jail time. But if they actually catch you now putting steroids or
straight up steroids, I mean, but control stuff, but SARMs or Viagra or any number of sort of gray market type stuff, you'll usually just get a cease and desist kind of deal, and you shut it down, they change the name, change the website, and they come back up. I guess it depends on what they're
that's the big issue is you get shut down, and then they shut down before the FDA comes after them, and then they just open under another names like cockroaches in the middle of the night. They surrender while you turn the light on.
The light comes on. So did you? Did you get a lot of flack early on as far as like being so like a lot of people don't like when you make them look bad, because by your being honest, it exposes it puts other people like those roaches in the limelight. So did you get a lot of flack for actually not doing proprietary blends? Showing what you were doing with testing, that kind of thing.
We got tortured in the industry. Everybody made fun of us, called us out, said it was marketing pitch, it wasn't real, and all that.
Right.
But you know what? I don't put companies down for the most part, because I was doing the same thing as they were. I didn't know, and a lot of the people don't know. There's still companies that open today that I meet on a regular basis, and they're showing me their product line with prop blends, and I start to explain, and like, holy shit, I didn't even know that, because they're just following what they see out there and what the manufacturers will do. But I mean, the good point is that the industry has made a change in the last dozen or so years, and there are great. There's a whole new, group of guys that are coming out of old companies and have opened brands out there that are really passionate, that are really doing good jobs, that are putting good product on the market and doing disclosure on their labels. So I don't want consumers to be scared, or I don't want anybody to think I'm nearly the only one anymore. There's a lot of people out there that are phenomenal in this industry that are doing a great job with their product line.
Right. I mean, I have to admit, I'm actually a little bit of the loop on that. I just don't. I'm just kind of doing my own thing these days in various areas, some of which don't have anything to do with the industry. you know, like yourself, I kind of have my hands in a lot of different things that interest me. One of them is, you know, writing fiction and such, and now starting my own product. So I have to admit, I'm actually, you know, I am a little out of the loop as to who is doing what in the industry, as far as, you know, who's actually doing a good job on sourcing and blends and dosing and all that. So I have to admit, I'm not in the loop enough to actually comment on who's doing what enough to be authoritative, I guess there.
Yeah, I would say that since the old days, it's gotten much, much better. I mean, like we just said, there's always those guys that would come in trying to make a quick buck and will take advantage of the consumer.
Right. Well, you've also been careful and smart to not just leap on the latest, greatest thing to, again, you know, make a quick buck. That could easily get you, you know, burn you out or get you in trouble or, you know, dangerous or whatever. I mean, a lot of companies, you know, when like Andro was the thing, you know, some companies just really pretty much had their entire product line so heavy on that when that got banned, they had nothing to fall back on. They had nowhere to go, you know.
Yeah, that happened to a lot of companies.
Yep. It happened to a lot of companies, and a few companies held out, and either if they sold it at all, they didn't make it their whole lineup to be so heavy on it that it would completely crash them. But it put a lot of people out of business.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful of creating a line around one thing. Even DMAA, I mean, that was a gray area. It wasn't supposedly illegal in the beginning when it came out, and a lot of companies, pre-workouts, really, you know, were set on that. And when that was taken off the market and they had to pull it out, their pre-workout went from this really high, crazy stim. There was nothing really to replace it.
Yeah,
and their product just went downhill. So, and a lot of those companies just relied on that one single product, and that was 80% or 90% of the business. So, you know, I learned that in the early days because we did a product called Thermal Fuel that we still sell today, and it was ephedra based.
Right.
Ephedra back then was doing billions of servings a year, and it was taken off the market. And anything in weight loss was ephedrine back then, or the ECA stack, ephedra capsule. Yeah. And when that came off, I had a product that was, you know, a big percentage of my business that was gone and was irreplaceable at the time. So I learned that lesson early when I was small, and really, you know, knew that I needed to diversify because the FDA can come in, or the government can come in and shut down any product that's legal, you know.
Yeah,
and turn it illegal, and you know, it was legal at the time.
And they don't really care that it's been around for a long time. They don't actually even care. There's actually a lot of safety data because ephedrine actually had quite a bit of data. It wasn't. Oh, yeah. It had studies with ephedrine that ran up to 6 months with like 600 people, and they didn't care.
It was just a political scam. I mean, ridiculous.
It worked so much better than anything that the pharma was trying to put out that they put a lot of arm twisting on FDA, and they took care of it. So, yeah. All right. So, basically, one of the things I wanted to get to today, mostly as sort of a focus, was that, you know, you've written some really good, I guess, sort of op-eds on what's going on in the industry from the supply side. Which, again, I don't really see anybody else addressing all that much, that the supply side has gotten obviously very tight due to COVID, that there are obviously, if not supply shortages, prices are going up, you know, sharply. Lead times for ordering is going up quite a bit. And you seem to be the only one that's really discussing this, you know, honestly and openly as a company. And I've been doing the same, you know, telling people even for my own product that, you know, I will try to do my best to hold the prices and stuff that I have, but, you know, at some point, I don't know how long that's going to last. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, I do it more than other companies because most companies in the industry don't manufacture. You know, most of the workers don't contract manufacturing. By the way, I'm not against contract manufacturing. There's great guys out there. This industry would not exist without it. So what we were talking about earlier was 20 years ago, not today.
Yeah, no, that's a good point for sure. And I've said them many times in my articles and videos. There's nothing inherently bad about contract manufacturers. I mean, there's great ones out there and some crappy ones out there. But
my quest over the years for what I want to do with quality led me into manufacturing. Yeah. So now here I am. I'm a brand, but I'm also manufacturing. So I get firsthand news before most brands do about what's going on out there.
Right.
I've got a lot of friends in the industry, so I just started putting out that news, you know, months and months ago when I started to see what's happening. I mean, the supply chain is devastated in this industry, and it is in most industries right now. Yeah. He's not talking about it. Our politicians are completely ignoring it. They're talking about, you know, chips and a few things that are gone and that are holding back. But
it's surprising how little even the news talks about it. It started to get a little bit of press lately, but I mean, I don't think people realize what's really going on out there.
Yeah, and it's not just in our industry; it's in every industry.
Yeah,
in my facility here, I can't get ingredients, I can't get bottles, I can't get plastics. The plastics are not just our industry; therefore, just about everything out there that you're buying. I can't get forklifts. There's a 59-week wait now for a forklift. It took me 5 months to get a truck.
Right. I remember you couldn't even get a delivery truck. You were talking. I remember that right up.
Yeah. And I built a 30,000 square foot distribution center, and it's still not fully open yet because there's, you can't buy machine parts, you can't buy shelving, you can't buy anything these days. It's every part of every industry, and if it doesn't change, it's gonna bring this economy to a halt fairly soon.
I am actually surprised we're not feeling it already more than we are. How they're like auto industry, as you know, they've got how many thousands of cars was it Ford or whoever is sitting there they can't put chips into? I think it was
Toyota I saw this morning is shutting down 10% of their manufacturing because they don't have chips. 10% of their manufacturing of cars. I mean, you're talking billions of dollars there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't even, at some points, I can't even get a machine part that's not custom for my machine. It's just
general part. Right.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. But in our industry, it's taken a big toll. There's prices that are, you look at things like whey protein.
Yeah.
Whey protein concentrate has gone up almost 150% in the last 3 to 4 months, and we don't know where it's going to end. So if you're buying a $2 bottle, a 2-gallon bottle of protein, I mean, what that brand was paying for, 3 or 4 months ago, they're selling it now, and they're losing money.
Right.
You've got to buy. In some cases, they're buying it for what they were selling it for because the prices. There's so many layers that everybody's got to keep their margins, stay in business.
And obviously, they're trying their best not to pass it on to their consumers if they can hold off till the prices come back down.
Right.
And they're obviously willing to take a beating on it and break even or whatever for as long as they can stand it and hope those prices come back down.
Yeah, but it's not right now. Now you're seeing it because a lot of companies had a lot of excess inventory, even held up from COVID. They weren't worried less of COVID, but they had inventory. Manufacturers had inventory protein. They had contracts with dairy companies, and that's all disappearing now. So yeah, it's been going on about 3 or 4 months just with the whey. So now it's trickling down to the consumer. So now stores are having a hard time buying brands. Brands are increasing their price $5, $10, $15 a bottle, but it's not quite trickled all the way down. But over the next month or so, we're going to see it really, really bad.
Well, I know you had mentioned creatine. Didn't you? 300%? I mentioned
creatine, yeah. Well, with whey protein again, we don't know when it's going to stop. It's still going up. My new truckload that's coming in next month is $1.50 a pound more than the last truckload before it, and I'm contracted out on this stuff. So you figure $1.50 a pound. I mean, that's dramatic on there. Creatine has gone up 300, 400 more percent depending what's going on. It's non-existent out there right now. You can't even get it.
Right. So even if you can get it, I mean, you can't even get it at 300 or 400%. You just can't get it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, our sale. I mean, I locked in hundreds of megatons of it, so our sales are up dramatically because everybody. Can't get it elsewhere.
Right. Well, you as a manufacturer also know earlier than most what's coming down the pike and can adjust for that and stock up as much as possible on some of those. But obviously, you can only hold out so long.
Yeah, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So we added a lot of square footage when we saw this happening, and we brought in millions of dollars in excess ingredients because of it. But when you're dealing with 300-400 ingredients out there, you can't. You don't know what it's going to be. Right. By all of them. Just an investment in creatine could be, $1 million over the next couple of months of excess material that I'm bringing in.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just a lot of. Also, I mean, it's just a lot of money to put out.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to put a lot of money out to sit on that, not knowing, when you're going to sell it and all that. I mean, it's and some companies and people just can't do it. I mean, so no matter how you slice it, it's not a positive. It's not a positive way to go at all.
And even if they could do it, they don't find out about it too late because they're the brand. They have inventory in their warehouses. They go and put a purchase order into a contract manufacturer, and all of a sudden they find out the price of their pre-workout or their BCA has gone up 30%. And instead of taking 5 weeks to get, it's going to take 27 weeks to get. There's contract manufacturers that are half a year or more out right now.
Right.
And they can't even quote a price.
Right. Because they don't know when they're going to even have, they don't know when they're even going to have the ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very hard for a brand right now.
So, I mean, when do you think, obviously people are going to start to really feel this, soon, if things don't change, you think a month or two, or a couple of months or like any day now is just going to get
Each one of these has different issues, so the main issue out there that we're all feeling is the transportation issue. So freight coming from out of the country, these containers, there's a shortage of containers. We can't unload these containers. There's no trucks to bring them across the country. So if you look at us bringing a container of, let's say, creatine in from China, okay, it used to cost us probably under $3,000 for a large container coming in from China. Now it's upwards of 13 to 14,000. It's raising at some points $1,000 a week. If you try to get a spot, just right now, I need to ship this today and try to get a container over. It's upwards of $30,000.
Right.
Spot container over to the U.S. So you're talking $2,500 to $3,000 to $30,000. Obviously, we're not doing that. We're contracting, but we used to be able to get a container in a few days. It's 3, 4, 5 weeks out.
So even if you can order it, and even if you can order it and they have it, just actually getting it to you.
So take all these ingredients that are coming from overseas and forget the issues. Like creatine has its own issues having nothing to do with this, and protein also, because that's made here in the U.S., so it doesn't have that issue. But when you're taking something from, let's say, 2,500 up to 14,000 just to bring the container over, you're adding 50, 70 cents per pound. You put that in a container, it's a lot of money, even in the U.S. So once you bring it in from China, the U.S. and domestic freight is crazy. California's cost us $1,500 a truckload to get it across the country. Now it's $8,800 for our last truckload to get from California to New Jersey. So that's just that transportation issue. But that transportation issue is causing a slowdown in all these ingredients in every industry out there. That's why we a lot of times can't get parts or can't get anything in because of that. But now on top of that, you look at creatine. The factories that are creating creatine are gone pretty much. The three major ones are producing a little at a time, and that's because the raw materials to make creatine monohydrate are not there right now. Cyanamide is made is shut down because the government is seeing that it causes too much pollution, too much energy uses. So they drop the manufacturing of it down so much that companies that need it to manufacture creatine cannot get it. And the other issue with that is PVC piping is so high right now, and you need that same ingredient for PVC piping. Guess where the government of China is allowing that to go? PVC piping for infrastructure, not for supplementation. So even if we got rid of this transportation issue that's out there right now, creatine is just as bad. That transportation issue is adding to it. So, the companies that are out there are sold out through now September, October, shipping here into the U.S. So unless you've got something maybe now October, November, December, you're not getting creatine into this country. I mean, if you're a small company, you can find a pallet here, a couple pallets there.
So, I mean, so far it's obviously, so shipping and transportation is expensive across the board. Some ingredients, I'm assuming, are not problematic yet. I mean, some are more problematic than others, right? There's some key ones that are really being a problem, and some that are not being a big issue as far as availability. But you still got to pay. You still got to pay a lot more money just to get it to you, from wherever it's coming from. So, I just don't see anybody else talking about this in the way they need to be. I like say, you're the stuff you've been writing. I've been talking about this, but it just seems like we're there's some like collective denial going on here about what a serious situation this is for the nation, not just the supplement industry. We're going to obviously see, rising prices. I mean, I'm seeing again here and there, certain foodstuffs have gone up quite a bit, but not all.
Lumber.
Yeah, lumber, right? Yeah, lumber is off the charts. Yeah,
you're pricing yourself out of doing any building right now.
Yeah,
I'd seen something done from Home Depot that I forgot the square footage of the deck, but for this certain square footage, you could build a deck on your house for $900 in lumber, and that's now up to $4,800 for that same deck, just for the lumber itself. So the supply chain is this disruption in the supply chain and these delays and shortages. They're hitting every single industry out there.
I would think that this is a pretty serious recipe for inflation. And I know we're seeing a little inflation, but I think again, it's being artificially damped down. And I think I hope it doesn't pop. I mean, I hope it doesn't, go ugly. And I think everybody's sort of, holding their breath that some of these things will smooth out, this transportation issues. But now with this new wave of COVID and the Delta and all that, I don't see it happening.
Well, I don't think we're going to see it smooth out. I think it's going to be 2022, all the experts are saying, until the underlying issues that are causing it are over with. And now most experts are saying even once we normalize and those issues are gone, we're not going to see a return. Maybe it's not going to be Who knows where it'll be? Maybe it'll be $20,000 to get a container over, where it used to be 3,000. But they're saying it's not dropping back to 3,000 ever again. It'll be in that $8,000-9,000 range. So our transportation will still be 3-4 times what it used to be. Here in the U.S., they're saying the same thing. You think creatine factories are going to drop back to where they were? There's no chance. I mean, it looks like, and a lot of people are saying that China is purposely doing a lot of this because they want to increase pricing because they're the only ones who can manufacture this.
Right.
And to hear all these people say, well, let's start. Why don't you manufacture creatine here in the U.S.? Well, yeah, if you want to spend about $300 million to build a factory and then find out you can't because China controls the ingredients needed to make it. We can't get it anywhere else.
Well, I remember back in the day, they did make it in the U.S. and China put them out of business. Fenchsteel. I mean, there was, back in the day, there was a bunch of manufacturers, and now there's only 2 countries in the world where creatine is made. And that's
the other ingredient that's used to make creatine, I forgot what it stands for. Hydroxy aceta something. It's only made in China. That's short. The government.
sarcosine salt.
The government shut that down too because problems with pollution and stuff like that.
Yeah, cyanamide and sarcosine.
We say that same thing with the pharmaceutical industry that I hear. We wanted to say, okay, when we saw what happened during Trump administration, let's bring it all back here. Yeah. But we can't bring it all back here because it's the underlying ingredients that we can't get here either. And in some cases, it's the ingredients to make the ingredients, and that can go down multiple layers. Yeah. So China has really entrenched themselves into controlling this country, and the average consumer out there does not quite understand. It's not just open factory here. Can't do it. When it comes to raw materials, they control that. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we call it the shop business, the clothing business. And there's something I think they call gray goods. And gray goods are the material, the shirts. Before it's dyed, before it's cut, it's all gray, it's woven. And China, they say, controls 98% of that. Before Italy or any designer country gets any of that. Right. China, they control all of this.
They also control the majority of our pharmaceutical meds. If they wanted to basically say, we're not going to send you any raw materials or to make, I'm just going to throw out insulin or whatever. I mean, they could wipe out, a few million people in a week if they want. They've got us, by the twisters. Pretty good.
99% of synthetic caffeine production. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all these companies, they've got to buy it all through China. You can get some of it, but a very small percent of that is natural. But now you can't, it's very difficult to get natural caffeine at all. It's never made in the quantities and China shut down production of synthetic caffeine for a number of months. Now it's opening back up, but that's risen like 20%. And people
they'll never. I mean, the prices may lower a bit, but no industry ever goes back to normal. The pre-normal prices, if they're able to get it. Ammo. I'll use the best example I've ever seen. Ammo. Right. Remember when box of ammo used to be $6-7, and then there was the big ammo shortage. Did it ever go back down?
Dropped a bit, never went down.
A little bit, dropped a bit.
And I still have cases of $7.70 for a box of 9mm, and I paid up to $45 for that.
$6 to $7. I remember $6 to $7 all day long, and it went up to crazy numbers.
We're never going to see that drop down to where it was, and part of it's even our countries. I mean, when Whey concentrate, is a totally different story now. Whey is made here in the U.S., and that's where we get most of it. But China bought it all up from us. Right. So this keeps going back to this country.
Yeah, that's a good point on the whey there's a big shortage in whey, as you said, for a lot of companies. That it's not that it's shortage not coming from China. The shortage is all going to China.
Exactly.
And they'll pay it. They'll pay the money for it, and they'll go with the money.
And I don't know the truth behind this, but from people I know high in the industry, they were buying the sweet whey and the concentrate to feed swine pigs because their pig population was wiped out. Now they're trying to rebuild it, and they were paying double what we were paying for concentrate. And some of the larger dairy companies just sold it all out to China, and now we have this issue. I know at least one that I do some consulting work for that said that one of the supplement companies I do some work for said, "Hey, Will, we're having a really hard time getting whey, and could you contact them because they know you've done work for them." And, we're not able to get our supply. So when I called them up and talked to them, they said, well, we'd like to help you out, help your company out. But we basically sold it's completely spoken for by China. Yeah. They have bought We're paying more for concentrate than isolate.
All right.
Then the isolate companies, and they're making it from cheese, and they have their own cheese. Some of them have their own cheese production right there, so they're not affected by this whole thing.
Right.
They're still making it right there. They then brought up their prices.
Right.
So they couldn't have concentrate under their price, so they've raised their prices. Now isolate is taking off.
Right. Well, I think the take home here is that people should probably expect that prices for their supplements are going to go up. If they haven't already started to go up, but they're going to be going up, and there's really not a lot that anyone in the back end like yourself can do about it. And it's not the fault of the companies certainly not in the U.S. being greedy. It's that they just cannot go on forever absorbing those losses, and they're going to have to pass them on at some point.
Yeah, they are. And then when it hits, you're seeing it now. You're seeing companies that are raising, and we recently raised our price of our classic whey. We recently raised the price of creatine. I mean, we were selling creatine at a lower price than it costs us to buy it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Creatine's been a commodity product all these years.
Yeah.
There's studied products out there, and everybody uses it. It's a commodity. Yeah. And now it's no longer a commodity as far as purchasing. I mean, it's crazy. Right. Place. But so you have this thing, we have China, this problem with transportation that's affecting everything, right? Even in the U.S., if it's not coming from China. And then you have all these individual issues with creatine has an issue. Some aminos have an issue, and they're all different issues. And when this is going to fix for creatine, the word out there is we don't know. It could go up in 2022, return, it'll never go back down.
Yes, as far as I know, we're the only ones that are actually really talking about this in any real sense. So what I was doing was I was actually sharing the stuff you were putting on your Facebook page, discussing this. I was sharing it over to my Facebook page and saying, people because a lot of people in the industry, follow my page and follow your page. And I was trying to push it onto my page, say, people, if you're in the industry, you need to read this because this is going to come. This is coming your way if it's not already coming your way, and you need to adjust for it. And it was kind of just a big, I got the response. I just didn't get a lot of people saying you're right. Well, we need to get on this. It just seemed like there was a lot of hope, putting the head in the sand thing and just not really paying attention to it. So
I was kind of surprised because I've come across a lot of people. I'm doing it basically for the industry, for the brands. I have a lot of friends who own brands out there. So when I started writing all my updates on it out there, it wasn't really for the consumer because it didn't affect them.
Yeah.
If creatine was moving up in price over the next few months. But a lot of companies are watching what I talk about, and a lot of companies started. I spoke to 4 or 5 people just at a show a few weeks ago that own brands that actually started to buy product 3, 4, 5 months ago when they started to read it, stocked up, and they're like, if I didn't do that, I can't even get any product right now.
Well, good. I just say for me, it was like it was just kind of crickets, as far as people responding and saying, thanks for the info, Will. We're going to get right on that. So maybe they read it and responded to it as they did for you, but I just. It seems like one of those things where there's just like a denial level. So I don't think people realize even like the shipping ports, the big major shipping ports are all backed up. When I was in Panama not that long ago, and there's one spot you can see from the canal, and man, there were just miles of ships backed up out there. And I talked to, there's always ships sitting out there, of course, waiting to go through, but it seemed like more than I've been going there 10 years, and I've never seen that many ships backed up. And they said, yeah, we're having a lot of problems getting enough people to, during COVID to inspectors and people that get sick and, all sorts of problems with just getting them through the canal. So that's got to trickle down to, my understanding is that there's backed up.
Yeah, here in the country, they can't unload them quick enough.
Yeah.
Plus, the problem is that there's a surge. We're importing, and they're not talking about that either. We're importing a lot more than we were. Yep. So the demand on it is higher, but they're down 30, 40%. We can't even get trucks to take it out of the ports and bring it across country. There's not enough truck drivers. There's not enough forklift handlers out there to do it. Now the big problem is there's no containers out there.
Right.
All the containers are sitting in yards here because they don't want to take them back there empty. No one's paying for that.
Right.
So for a month and a half, Italy was shipping nothing out. There weren't any containers for them to ship out. So trying to get in the container manufacturers, I think there's 3 major container manufacturers out in China. They are producing as fast as they can, but they still can't keep up with it. Now we're coming to peak season, holiday season. Everybody's importing right now to fill their shelves for the holidays, and that's going to take this a step worse. That's why they're thinking it's going up literally $1,000 a week in container.
Wow. All right, so I guess the take home is that price increases are already happening. They're coming. People should be prepared for it. across the board, not just supplement industry. I'm kind of an audiophile head, and across the board, there's stuff that I wanted to buy that prices have gone up, way up on any kind of electronic that has a chip of it, because there's also a big chip shortage. So there were some things I wanted to get audiophile wise, and I'm glad I did, because they went up. The things that I wanted, 20-30%. I mean, we're not talking small numbers here. This wasn't $10. It was things that were for $1,800 or $2,200 worth $3,500, and that type of thing, like real quick. So
manufacturing's having a big problem. I went in to buy a bicycle.
Another one.
I had one bike. I wanted a second one so I could ride with people. Mm-hmm. They looked at me and laughed.
Yeah.
They had Specialized. They said it used to take them 8 weeks to get in, and they're over a year out to get a Specialized bike. Now they walked in with his son, and no bullshit, offered me $1,000 for my $200 bicycle.
Well, and actually, speaking of that, you bring me back to I ordered I have an e-bike, and I wanted to get another one, a better one, bigger motor, and 6 months. Took me 6 months, and I had to get on a list. I had to pre-buy it, and I waited, and now the waiting list is more like a year to get an e-bike from this company. So I waited my 6 months, and at least I had one to ride, because otherwise, honestly, I would have lost my shit. But that was 6 months.
Talking about yet, that is the real serious thing. If all these ingredients are short, and companies can't get it, and they're starving for it, what's going to happen over the next 6 months to quality control?
Yeah.
First thing I can tell you that I see every day now are all these ingredients that weren't used and that have been expired sitting in warehouses are all now hot commodities.
Right.
You get every day, okay, we have this, this, and this. It's 6 months expired. It's 3 months expired. The pH levels is off here. And all the things that were off spec and gone and sitting in warehouses getting ready to be destroyed are all now being bought up.
Right.
What's going to happen with protein spiking now?
Right.
No, protein spiking is cleaned up over time. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what games are going to happen. I've already seen 3 or 4 companies that have gone to manufacturing because they can't get contract manufacturers. 2 of them already left it right away because they realize it's the ingredients, or contract manufacturers weren't bullshitting them. But the ones that are, I mean, how much do they know about manufacturing? It's the FDA's regulations for manufacturing, CFR 111, are very, very hard to do. And they're very protective of the consumer. I'm against regulation, in this country. I hate government intervention in our personal lives. But the regulations for manufacturing, CFR 111, to me are very strong in protecting consumers. That's going to disappear. That's the thing we have to worry about, not just in our industry, in other industries.
Right. Well, again, pharmaceutical, which of course that's life and death. I mean, now supplements, for the most part, if they don't, for the most part, the worst case with supplements, you've wasted money or something. They won't usually kill you. But pharmaceuticals, I mean, if you don't have the dose that you're paying for in a pharmaceutical, or it's, a subpar chemical or whatever, you are literally talking possibly life and death here.
Yeah, long term. I mean, with us, I'd say, if the product's not what it's supposed to be, the best case scenario is they lose their money.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is something happens and something put in there that's contaminated, kill them. Yeah. But in most cases, it's not that. It's just that their efforts in their training and their weight loss and everything they want to do are lost. There's going to be more, dextrose and sugars thrown.
Yeah, you're definitely throwing money away, and you're not getting what you're paying for.
So you're what you're trying to do, and the benefit you're trying to get from training every day and the things that you're doing is going to go in the opposite direction. So people are going to get
so that's an important point, that the quality control and the quality of the sourcing ingredients are already going to be taking a hit as this whole situation progresses here. That's I hadn't even thought of that, honestly, which makes perfect sense. So that's another thing people are going to have to keep an eye on. I mean, again, all I can say is buy from the companies that that I recommend. I have a handful of companies. Neutral. I think guys like Mark. One thing they're never going to do without at least telling people what they're doing is if they've got to change ingredients or use a different manufacturer, whatever, they'll let people know about it. Where again, I don't think we could say the same for most companies, again, that are just pretty much profit driven. And as you said, they're going to use shit that's out of date. They're going to use stuff that's gone bad, or they're just going to take whatever manufacturer they can get their hands on. We might, again, hand them a pretend C of A of garbage. So that's another one I haven't even thought of, to be honest with you.
Yeah, people think we're exaggerating some of this, but I've been in this industry 1996. So, 25 years. And I said to somebody the other day, if I took up all of the supply chain issues we've had in that 25 years, don't forget every year China closes down completely for their new year, and that screws up our whole industry. Companies who don't prep for that and stuff like that have no product. If I took all those issues in 25 years and put them together, it would not equal the issue that we're having right now. Yeah. That's how rough this is.
Right. All right. Well, good. All right. So there you go. Everybody's got that. Good to know. I'll try to keep up on this, and maybe we'll have Mark back again, whatever, a couple months or something, and revisit this. Going for less doom and gloom. I do want to ask your new project, Unbound. This is a new product line for you, obviously, and you gave me a little bit of info on the back end, but what's the motivation and focus on this new product line here?
This new product,
right?
So this, NutriBio is a sports supplement and wellness company. So we focus on an overall wellness in addition to sports nutrition, and we wanted to get a little edgier line out because we don't, get some of the consumer, that 18 to 25-year-old kid who's looking for DMAA and SARMs and stuff like that, and so when we market a certain way and we're marketing around quality and manufacturing and wellness and stuff like that, it doesn't translate. You think about the average housewife who's walking in the morning and she finds out that CoQ10 is good for her heart and goes to a website. There's a big bodybuilder right there. Your marketing doesn't really always work out the way you scare them away, no matter how good that CoQ10 you have on your website, they're going to run and vice versa. So we were going to put a second line out of more edgier, hardcore products within the NutriBio line, and it could have resided within NutriBio, but we decided to keep it as a separate company under a separate name, and the name is Unbound. And the idea is it's just a very, very hardcore product line for real serious, trainers.
Right.
People are in the gym every day training. It's not for endurance sports. It's not for CrossFit. It's for people who are in the gym, training hard every single day, trying to get the max benefit out.
So a pre-workout that will make your ears bleed, I'm assuming.
Well, no, I'm still, I still follow the guidelines of NutriBio. So everything as far as quality and formulation is the same. I'm not big into, super high stims. I'm not into 5, 6, 7, 800 milligrams of caffeine or anything.
Right.
So we do a focus and stim product.
Right.
But it's still the same, around 400 milligrams of caffeine, and we blend those caffeines with quick release anhydrous and slower release so that you have effects over an hour or so and you don't get hit right away. So it's a higher stim product, but it's not going into that crazy levels. And with NutriBio, you're never going to find DMAA or any of the stuff in there.
Right.
So we do that. We do a straight pump product, and the idea here is you can utilize multiple products together. So we make a straight pump product, we make a straight stim focus product, we make a weight loss powder. You can mix these together in different ways to get exactly what you want. And then we did a product line that we never really did in NutriBio. We've never done a test booster in NutriBio. We've never done a muscle builder in NutriBio, a GDA. So it doesn't really compete with NutriBio. These are products that were just not part of our focus. So we did that in this line because that's the community and the customer that we're going for. And it did great. I mean, we were in, I think 400 stores in just a few months. We're not even selling online and at all yet. And,
so you don't even have an online presence and the site and all that yet?
Well, we do.
With their sales?
Unboundsupplements.com, but we're not selling there yet. We got it made. When we started this, we know that we have a really good relationship with all of our stores out there, brick and mortar retail stores, and they were already getting wiped out by Amazon over the last few years, and had to refocus what they did out there. Then COVID came and destroyed them, and now we're running into these issues with supply chain, and we kind of wanted to make a commitment to them and give this product to them.
Right. So they can get information online, and then it'll be something like a drop down. Find a retailer close to you or something.
Yeah, we're going to sell it on our website, but it's not going into Amazon and all these other sites. It's really going to be just on our website eventually, and in quality, high-end brick and mortar stores who really know what the product's about and know how to tell people about it.
All right, you got to love this sun thing that's literally coming through my window onto my. It makes me look like a Apache Indian or. Anyway, I'm using natural light for my green screen, and it's not working out so late. So if anybody's wondering why the hell I got this across my face,
I thought it was a face mask.
Yeah, well, it's later. Yeah, it actually does look. So it's later in the day than I usually do these, and the sun is coming in at a low angle and hitting me in the face. So, how about you guys gonna have a booth at the Olympia? Anything going on there?
Don't know what's going on in the Olympia, where it's just right around the corner. We don't know how big the expo is going to be. We're not getting a full read on that yet. You know, we've done the Olympia for a bunch of years. We did not do it this past year because of COVID. I think there's only like 20 booths set up there, so we're not sure yet. We're waiting to see.
There we go. All right. I mean, because it's it's kind of getting pretty close. I would think for you guys, how much lead time do you need to get all that together?
Well, lead time to do the booth that we normally do is passed already, but we can still put something up. So we have our people checking into it now to see whether we want to be there or not. I mean, these shows get very expensive, and you know, a lot of times they're more for ego between brands and stuff like that. So when we go to these shows, we want to make sure it's there for the consumer. It's going to help. It's going to get us that kind of benefit as opposed to just bragging.
I mean, the internet. I mean, back in the day, you had to go to those shows for exposure, you know. But the internet I would think, has pretty much eliminated the need. More of a want, and it's fun, and like I said, it's competition, and you know, all that. But back in the day, you had to. It was a must. It was a must attend.
The internet has eliminated everything. I mean, look, the magazines are pretty much all gone.
Oh yeah,
gone. Yeah, if you're not internet savvy right now, nobody knows about your product.
Yeah, no. If I hadn't transitioned, I was a pretty early adopter of the internet. You know, if I hadn't seen that writing on the wall, I would have been screwed. And I tried really hard to get the owner of Muscle Mag, Bob Kennedy, at the time, interested in the internet. He didn't have an email address. He told me it was a fad. You know, he was an older guy, and he just was like, "Will, we don't need any part of that." And somebody even bought MuscleMag.com. They couldn't even get their own name, and so that really didn't help their potential. And I really wanted to work with them and kind of get them online and all that. But yeah. I offered to do the whole thing.
Funny to you, you know, when I started, we were a mail order company.
Right.
People would get their catalogs in the mail. They'd cut out the application inside, fill out the name and address and everything. Either write their credit card in or take some cash and wrap it in and send it. That was all of our business.
Right.
You know, we were a mail order company.
Right. Yeah, I kind of miss. I mean, there's some aspects of those days I do miss, but.
And funny thing is, about a month and a half ago, no bullshit. I don't know where it is. We got one in. We haven't even had that form in like 15 years. Somebody sent in a form with an order and cash wrapped in a napkin inside the order form and sent it into us.
I remember when I was writing for the mags, I remember going every day or at least every other day, you know, to my P.O. box, because people would write me and I would go, I was all excited, and every week or every day I'd go to my P.O. box and I'd get all these handwritten letters, you know, from my column and stuff. And I would read every one of them. I still have a bag. I kept a few bags of letters that I used to get just to once in a while open them up. But I was so excited. You know, today it's just an email. But I would go and get my letters from people, and I would read every one of them, and I would write them back and put them in the mail, and and go back and forth with some people. And that was just fun.
1991 order form that you mailed in.
Wow. Did they say anything about it? Like, you won't believe I found?
This is what I just got out of my old catalog. So this catalog's from 1991.
Well, that's cool, man.
Original, but
that's actually kind of cool. I mean, did the guy say anything about it, or just came literally as a random order?
We just got in the mail, place and shipped it. I was like, holy shit.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I'm like I said, it's good that we've transitioned well to this particular space. I definitely do miss some of the old school stuff. I miss Blockbuster. I will never get over missing Blockbuster. I don't give a damn about Netflix. I watch Netflix and all that, but man, I used to love to go to Blockbuster on Friday night and talk to people and find new stuff. And there's some of the stuff. I think our lives have been improved for sure. I mean, but in some areas, I think we've kind of lost some of the interaction, the fun, and all that. There's some things that I do miss. Amazon's the 900-pound, 800,000-pound gorilla of all that, and we all say things about them, but they get me. I order 80% of my stuff off Amazon. That one-click button is the most addictive damn thing. So it's like crack on the internet. Whoever came with that one-click is a genius.
Well, what they have: assortment, price, and service.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing left in the formula. They have great service, fast shipping, free shipping, and huge assortment. And this is what I talk to when we're working with a lot of the retail stores, because they've got to compete against this, and it's hard. They think they can compete with good customer service. They can't, because Amazon has great customer service.
Yeah.
You don't like the product, it's gone. So what you have to do is you have to look at it and say, we can't compete on price, we can't compete on customer service anymore. So we have to compete on helping our customer.
Yeah.
If you go to Amazon,
Yeah.
Will Brink goes to Amazon, he buys a protein powder that he thinks is going to help him, or a pre-workout, and it does shit for him.
Yeah.
You don't blame Amazon. You go back to Amazon, you try another one and another one, another one.
Yeah.
But if you go to a local store and you take something that doesn't work, you blame that store.
Yeah.
This is what a lot of these stores have done. They've had to transform from just a pure customer service, as far as putting an order and getting it to them and stuff like that, to being able to help the consumer, matching a product to the customer.
Yeah.
That customer getting a benefit from it. That way the customer doesn't go to Amazon, comes back. And that's the kind of store that we focus on.
Yeah. And I think people really do want that and appreciate that. I think, and I do the same thing. I mean, I really, if there's companies that I feel like the customer service is really up there, that if I have any issues, they'll take care of it. They'll make it right. They'll help me, choose stuff. I will definitely go the extra mile to either whether I got to pay a little more or, make a phone call and I can't just easily go find stuff. Again, I just purchased a fairly expensive electronic piece of audio gear that, the company, just knowing if I had a problem or any issues, and they, and I did actually have a problem setting it up, and, the customer service, they were fantastic. Well, you're not going to get anybody on Amazon, to help you set something up or fix it or whatever. They'll just, give you a sheet to send it back, and that's the end of it. So I think customer service, those companies that are focusing on customer service and doing a good job of it, I think it is paying off for them. I mean, I think there's always a group of people that want that and will pay for it.
Our industry has run away from the retail store, the mom and pop brick and mortar store. It's all direct to consumer, selling online, which we do, going to Amazon. And, we made a commitment a few years ago, that we're not going to do that. We're going to really focus, because I think the consumer still needs that store in their town. Not necessarily one of these big, huge chains who's nothing more than an Amazon anyway. It just happens to be in your community. But these small stores where you walk in and the owner is there and his people are trained and they know how to take I remember in a chain store, and I was there to talk about my product, and the customer walked in, and it was a mother, and she had a son who was 6'3", high school, playing football, and weighed like 110 pounds. Mm-hmm. And the rep walked over and gave her my whey protein isolate. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? This is not the product for you. You guys, the kid's trying to gain weight. He needs a weight gainer, not a fast absorbing whey isolate that it's going to go right through his system. And, and I think that's the difference between a good store these days, like Calabrese out in New York, those guys. I mean, there's so many of them that really.
I think those stores that really do focus on customer service will do okay. They'll stay open. They have a following of people that will like to go there and get advice and talk to people. So I think as always, there's a silver lining to a lot of this stuff, even the stuff that's, looks bad on the surface. There are still some silver linings. And I think one of them is companies that are really going the extra mile. And for a few years there, sort of customer service also kind of disappeared. It just wasn't a thing. And I feel like it's coming. Those companies that emphasized it have maintained or retained their customer base and are doing okay. And those that just kind of let it go, are paying the price for it, and Amazon's taking their stuff.
I think those stores who work with customers, because it's intimidating as hell. Yeah. You're a new guy, and you're a woman out there, and you're starting to hit the gym, and you want to take some supplements, and you go to Amazon. I mean, there's a million supplements. What the hell do you take? What is a pre-workout? What's an intra-workout? Nobody knows. We live this all day, every day. We know what an intra-workout is. But an example is I had a guy, a top-class fighter, UFC fighter, one of the best in the country. He was so excited when we got our alpha EAA out, which was essential amino acids, because he could take it. He was taking our BCAAs before his workout. He was taking our intra, which is BCAAs and EAAs during our workout. He was taking this after and throwing protein on. I'm like, holy shit. The guy knows not a damn idea what he's doing. All he's taking is like 5-6 servings of the same damn thing over and over again. Right. And we think as insiders that everybody understands that, and they don't. So the future, of this industry is really those companies, either brands like us that are online, or as we sell to, figuring out how to help that consumer and get through all this intimidation of a million products. What the hell are they? A million brands. What the hell are they? And say, this is what you need. This is your goal. We're going to match a product, even if it's not our high margin product. We're going to give you the product that works. And to me, the future where we want to go and the stores that we want to hang in.
Yeah, education, honest open source type approach that gets loyalty, isn't just trying to sell them, everything that you've got. Give them what they need, and they'll come back. I think that's the model that's showing itself. There's always going to be the Amazons of the world, but I think between that, there's now, I say, companies like yours and others that are focusing on the customer service and education, and open source, and not giving proprietary blends and just trying to be a make the quick money on a SARM and cash out and disappear and that kind of thing. So, all right, so I'm going to say before we jump, I let you go. I mean, if anybody has a question for Mark, an industry insider, ask it now, or forever. I guess hold your peace till the next time he's on. I think I'm looking at the. If anybody's got a comment, question, I'm going to jump. Otherwise, I'll let Mark go back to.
Well, I see one question there about citrulline malate.
Yeah.
So I would say the answer to that: does citrulline malate exist? Yes, it can exist. Does it exist? No, it does not exist right now. I in the last 5 or 6 years, I haven't found a single manufacturer since we let it up that was actually making citrulline malate. So citrulline malate is one part citrulline or 2 parts citrulline, 1 part malic acid, whatever it is, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, whatever. But they're supposed to be molecularly bonded together.
Right.
That is an expensive process that stopped many, many years ago. So all the citrulline malate on the market right now is nothing more than malic acid thrown in a blender and mixed with citrulline. I
seem to recall that malic acid tastes pretty nasty. It's been it's been a long time since I've had malic acid, but I remember we had it in a lab. I remember why we had it in chem lab, and I remember the guy said, taste it. It was horrendous. I mean, some people don't take that into account either.
Well, if you take citrulline malate, it's going to be very sour because malate is used in a lot of regular products, consumer products, to increase that sourness in there. But no, there is no citrulline malate on the market right now.
All right, so I don't see anybody else with any major questions here. I'll just say, how goes the Alpha Joe production? Let me get my plug in there. How goes the Alpha Joe production? Smooth and good.
Everything's good. That's one of the reasons we got together. I mean, you wanted the product the highest quality. You chose the ingredients, looked at the ingredients. We're testing the ingredients anyway, but you wanted to see the testing of all those ingredients. You wanted to see the final product testing. I can tell you, most companies out there don't give a shit about that.
No, they don't.
Say, okay, how much is this product? Oh, it's $5. How much is it from you? It's $4. Okay, I'll buy it from you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's why I say that's why I wanted you to do it, and I kept asking you, and you disappear, and
Will went through, I don't even know how many months of just looking at cocoa to figure out which cocoa would achieve what he wanted. I mean, it was painful to us over here watching him because he was just going back and forth and back and forth. And that's really what you want when somebody's making a product that you believe in. You want them, okay, you put in creatine. He used Creapure. Okay, why? Because Creapure is 99 point. I don't use Creapure because I've been using one vendor for 20 years who they know when they ship to me, it's got to be 99.98 pure or I won't take it in. So we get that. Creapure, I've tested 10 times. It has been 99.97 or higher. It's an amazing product. And that's what you chose to put in there. So, I mean, these are the important things for a consumer. When you get a product and you believe in Will Smith, you follow Will Smith. So when he puts his name on a product, you want to make sure it's going to do exactly what
I would just like to add that Will Smith is the black actor who was in a lot of movies, and I'm not that guy, but he's close enough. Mark is close enough, and I will live with it just fine. You
don't want to take it for granted because there's people who built a reputation, whether they're an athlete, huge social media, and when they get into supplement industry, a lot of them are just trying to capitalize on their name. So they're not even concerned with the product. They let somebody else do it. A lot of them will license their name out. They don't know what's even in.
No, I really, again, this is why I wanted you to make it, because I knew that you would totally get what I was trying to achieve, that you wouldn't think I'd lost, that I was crazy, because I wanted to be very, very specific about what I put in it. I also knew that I didn't have to watch my back or my product with you doing it, because again, not all, again, a lot of good contract manufacturers out there, but you also, some of them will put the good ingredients that you picked, and then without even telling you or something 6 months later, if you're not doing third-party testing, they'll downgrade your ingredients to something cheaper, without you ever knowing.
But I can't even do that, because not only did Will trust me enough, he called all the manufacturers to make sure I was actually buying from them.
Yeah, well, the cocoa guy. I mean, the other two I was fine with. It was the cocoa people, which it's a good company, but I don't think they were used to having somebody ask all those questions that I was asking of them. I think I was, driving those poor people a little nutty, but I don't think they're used to it. I think that somebody says, okay, here's cocoa, and they buy it, and I had a lot of questions about what was in it.
The same thing to us that I do. I do this concept of trust but verify. So I have an ingredient come in, I've tested it before it's allowed in. I have to prove out the manufacturer, I have to qualify it. Yeah. Then we get in samples, we test it, but then we test every single lot that comes in here for as long as we're using it. We don't let one lot in. Even though I trust this company for the last 2 years, I believe in this concept of trust but verify, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're trusting me, but you want to see the test results also. You want to make sure I'm buying that creatine from the company I'm saying. Right. And that's what makes a great product. That's what
and the companies that use the advice that I give to, whenever I do consulting work for some company that's going to use a contract manufacturer, I always say it, no, do it. I mean, there's fine, but always have a lot third party tested, not part of that company.
Right.
You don't want the fox guarding the hen house. They're going to send you a C of A, best case scenario. So if you're going to use a contract manufacturer, nothing wrong with it, but at least randomly pull lots out, and have them third party tested to make sure you are getting what you're paying for. Exactly. And not all of them do that. So, all right. So I guess that covers it. Give an hour. So hopefully, at least I don't see any extra questions. Thanks for coming on, Mark. And now people, know that we're not making up this what's going to happen with price increases and availability and all that. So they need to keep an eye out. And if they want to get stuff, get it from those companies again that you can trust to have your best interest in mind, and don't hesitate to contact guys like Mark and their company, because they're very good at communicating. They answer questions. Again, I hold companies up, any company, whether it's supplements or again electronic guns, I don't care. If they don't have good customer service and they're not quick to respond to questions and answer detailed questions, and they don't blow you off, then they're not the company you need to follow. I mean, that to me is just a given of, again, any company you're going to work with. So keep that in mind also moving forward. That's going to be more important than it ever was in the next, I'd say we're probably looking at another couple of years of this shit. This isn't going away soon, right? I think we're going to be looking at these problems for a while now.
Well, they were talking about end of 2021. Now they're talking mid 2022, and some experts out there in the field, especially for transportation, all are saying end of 2022 now.
Yeah. All right. So I think we can easily, let's call it a year or two easily, that we're going to be seeing issues, and hopefully we don't see inflation to the point that the economy really takes a real nasty hit or dive or all that. So I don't want to try not to end on a doom and gloom note, but I just want people to be aware. And I say we'll have Mark on again, at some point. Mark, have you ever, changing topics only slightly, but because you like tequila, have you ever seen the show Drunk History?
No.
All right, so I have an idea for a show. So Drunk History, it's actually pretty funny. They take like well-known like comedians and B-level like movie stars and stuff, and they talk about history while they get drunk.
That must be interesting.
It's actually pretty funny.
You want to try that on the show one time?
That's what I'm talking about. See, I have an idea to do something maybe called Drunk Fitness, where maybe around 7, 8 o'clock, we open up, you get some tequila and I'll have some margaritas or whatever. And we talk about something fun, some fun stuff. Maybe industry related, maybe not. But I think if we do that once a month, I think people would get a laugh out of it.
It'd be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Just so everybody knows, when we talk about tequila, we're not sitting there doing shots all day like we were in high school. It's very tequila that we're doing sipping, and it's aged tequila.
Well, you wouldn't last through. Yeah, I mean, how long are you going to last downing shots of tequila? Obviously, you've got to pace yourself. No doubt. So, but anyway, that you'd be obviously the perfect guest for one of those if you ever want.
I just wouldn't want to do it live. I'd rather be able to look at it afterwards and delete some stuff out.
Well, then you might not let it out the door is the problem. That's like, you might not let it out the door if you tape it first. But yes, we can.
All right, when you're ready, give me a call.
All right, brother. So thank you for being on, and I'll talk to you soon. And everybody, see you guys out the Brink Zone.
Yeah, Will, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Ciao, brother.
Take care, man.